I am Nishant and welcome to Cybernetico. So in this video today, we will learn how to do CRUD operations in React. So CRUD basically means create, read, update and delete that we perform on API calls. So this is the second time I am doing this video because the previous one was not so good and I had used a library that is deprecated. Yes, it's now deprecated. So I thought it's better to make it again. So let's start. First, what we will do is create a React app. Yes, from Vite. So copy this command and paste it here and press enter. Okay, where is enter? Yes. Now let's see the name. So we can type React CRUD with context API. Long name. So let's choose React here and JavaScript. So it's done. Now go to that folder, React CRUD with context API, and let's do this. So our first step is to install React Router. What is React Router? It's a routing library from or in React. Okay. So let's do this. Where is it? Exam tutorials. Let's install it first. So we have done all of these using Vite. So now what can we do to install it? Come down. Okay, where it is? I think it's up. It's here. npm install react. Okay, copy the command. npm install react router dom local forage whatever else and enter. I don't know what or why we use these two, local forage and match sorted sort by. What is this? I don't know. Okay, fine. So here also I have a website or let's say a service called mockapi.io where you can create APIs, mock APIs. So to get started, click here. You can sign in with Google account or GitHub. Let's do this. So see, we have this mock API, we have this users, and this is the endpoint. So click this user's name and it will be here. Let me show you how to create it. First delete this and click new resource. Let's type the endpoint name which is users and delete all others except created at. Wait a second. Okay, let's leave ID. This, remove this only. We have name and avatar. So let's add one more called age, which is a string. Also here it's a string. Wait, name is not a string, it's a number, so make it a number. Then let's say is married. It will be boolean, so make it a boolean. Now create. Now we'll see users, which has three fields: name, age and is married. Fine. Now let's start the React app. So we can say npm run dev. Now enter and click this link. It will open up here. Now we don't need this. Okay, we need this. First, let's create a what do we create? Need to create. So we need to use context API. So let's create a folder in source or src called global context. Context.j. Okay, it's a folder, yes. Or let's make it a context symbol. Because I like the icon. Context. In this will, okay, we don't need to rename. In new file, yes. Global context dot JSX. JSX here. So this file will contain our global context, that is the common state for every file or folder or component or layout. In this, let's import create context from React and let's create a context. So I forgot every time I do this, so better to go to github.com. then my repo called React interview questions. Okay, in here go to context API. So where it is? Okay, open this view code and get context API. Yes, I forgot it every time. Now in the contexts, we have global contexts, and let's import or export this. Fine. Now we have this user data, which will contain all our state data. Fine. Now it's done. Now the next step is to go to or come over to app.jsx, remove all this kachra code. I mean boilerplate code. Remove the state and remove the SVG logo, react.svg, and save it. We will get a clear blank page. Fine. Now let's set up the React router. So as you see here, we need to do this in index.js. So let's do this. But we don't have index, we have main.jsx. So we need to import these things. React create browser router and router provider from React router DOM. Save. Now we have to add it here, like this router provider. And what is this router? So it's a okay. What is this? Adding a router. I think it's correct or not. Let me see. I think this is new. So we have router provider, inside we're passing router, and this router is the array. So let's create it. So inside we have this path and element, and I guess the element is this app. Okay, but wait. Yes, this element is the app. So I guess we don't need app. So what can we do? Let's create a file called folder called components. In this, first let's create a file called create.jsx. Make it functional component and import this here. So we will not use app. We will use this create.jsx to make a create request. So we can say import create from components create and simply add it here. So now if you save this and come to this, wait, we will see create because we are on the home page. Similarly, create one more for read.jsx and this will be read. So come to main.jsx, create one more object and make it as it should be read, and the component should be read component. So import read from components / read and add it here. Now if you go to this route called /read read, we will see read. Fine, we have create and read. For now, let's leave it. Okay, I guess we don't need this create root. Remove this because we have this, and if we do this, it disappears. Okay, we don't need this app. Yes, so remove app import and make it disappear from our eyes. So delete this and fine. So we have create and read. So let's import this app.css inside main.jsx. Why not? Because it was there already before. So now it's disrupting the style. So import app.css. Save. Fine. And now let's take a break and let me have my eggs. Let me eat my eggs. Not my eggs. Let me eat eggs. Now the next step is to do what? Let me close this. Fine. We don't need this. Actually, yes, we don't need this. Fine. Okay. So we have created a context inside our app. Okay, we don't have any app now. So we have created the context here. Yes, sorry. Now we need to wrap our entry file into this. So our entry file, let's say, is this. Okay, let's do it in create. So let me go back and open the components folder. home.js, and okay, not home, sorry, the main file app.js. Inside, we are importing the user data context, so import it user data like this, and also nothing else. So what we need to do is we need to wrap this whole component inside this user data dot provider. Provider is a method, or let's say a thing, which means to store data. So if we are having provider, it means we have to store some data. So that's done. Now what we need to do is now it's to save the data from here to I did a mistake again. We don't need this here. Correct. Sorry, we need it in read component. So why do we need this context API then? So I don't know. So let's just go with it. Maybe you know how now to use it. How to use it now? Yes. So in the create component, we need to install one more package, which is Axios. So do npm I Axios. Okay. Today is very cold and I am also very cold. So it's done. Let me close the terminal and import Axios. But first we need to create input field. So let's say input here. So class name, let's say enter, sorry, not class name, placeholder. Here we will say enter your name. Name means name. Let's have two more. Enter your age. And third one will be, are you married? Now save this. Now we will have three components. In this div, give it a class name of create page. Fine. Now go to this app.css, and I guess we can remove all of these except the root. Now what we need to do is make display flex justify content, no, sorry, flex direction column. Now they are in column row, in column direction, gap 20 pixels. Now we have name, age, and are you married, three fields. Fine. Now let's create a button. So the button will be used to send data to this mock API. So let's say send data. So it's here. Now we need a function to get data from all of these three input fields. So we have const get data equals to this and this arrow function. Let me open the yes. Now we have this get data. It will receive an event parameter or argument, whatever you want to call it. It's complicated. So when this function will run when something inside the input field changes, and it will pass some data to this function because we're calling it here like this. So on change get data, here also we need an event and pass it here like this. Repeat the step for other two like this. So let's now destructure the name and value property from this event or target, because that's how it works. So name comma value equals to event dot target. Now we can check it in the console. So we can say name, then we can say value. Yes, so sorry for the interruption. Where were we? Yes, so let's open the console. Let me bring it down. Let's type the name Nishant. So as you see, we can get the value, but we don't get the name because we don't have any name here. So if we add the name equal to, let's say, name, we will get it. Here, let's make age. Here, let's make uh, what is this? Is married. Fine. Now, if you type name here, let's say Nishant, you will get name as name and the field which is Nishant. I mean the data. If we add age, let's say 26, we will get the age. Fine. Now we need to store them inside a state. So we need to import use state hook from React and create a state called, let's say, form data, and set form data equals to use state, let's say, an empty object. Yes, yes. So what we will do is we will store it like this. So first let's create a variable called data, or let's say inputs. Inside this input we will have an object, because this is an object. In this object we have the first thing as name, so let's add the name as key and the value. Now if we console.log this inputs, let's see what we get. Remove them, remove these two. Now enter the name Nishant, you will get the name as Nishant. Let's add the age, but we will get the age, but the name is not here anymore. It's overridden by the next field. That's why we need the state. So set form data. In this we will have the inputs, but before the inputs we will have the previous items as well, which is form data. So we have to spread it, combine them. Now let's console.log this here and see what we get. Refresh the pages. We need the here. What happened? We only have the name. Okay, now it's fine. Let's add the name as Nishant. We will see this. 26 as age. We will see this. Yes, I made it. We will see this. Fine. But in the third field, you know that we have declared it as Boolean. So we have to convert it in Boolean value. So what can we do? Let's create a check here. So let's say if name is equals to, what is this, is married, then in that case we will convert the value in Boolean. So in this we will have one more check. If value is equals to yes, in this case we will have inputs. Wait, we will have what can we do? We will have this. Let's copy this here, and instead of this inputs, okay, let's leave inputs. What we will do is we will do what is the third field? Is married. Let's copy it. Is married as true. Fine. Else we will do all of these. Now let's try this. Let's add the name, which is Nishant. Forget my spelling. Age and yes. Okay, we have some problems here. Inputs is not defined. Okay, so also we have to cut and paste it here. Copy and paste, I mean. Try again. Let's do that. Age, name is Nishant. 26. Yes. So as you see, if we type yes, it will be true. Okay. Yes. Fine. But the problem is the else is, if it is here, okay, the else part should be here. Here. Now in this else, we need to make this as false. So just copy is married and append it like this, which is false. Now what problem do we have here? We have if else, then we have else, sorry, we have if and then else, but it's throwing a error. Okay, we need to close it also. We're not closing this else. So enter and close it. And now it will work fine. Now let's try again. Enter your name. Nishant is here. 26. Age is here. And let's type yes. If we type yes, it will be true. If we type something else like no, it will be false. Fine. So that works. So if we remove this and type yes, it will be true. Great. Fine. Now we can remove this or leave this. Now we need a function to send data to that API, mock API. So let's say post data. Let's create a function. Like this. Post data. In this, we will call Axios dot post followed by the endpoint. So our endpoint is this. So to get it, click this and copy the entire endpoint and add it here. Now it follows this rule. So we need to add the endpoint, and the second param will be the data itself. So it is form data. Simply add it here. So we can remove this and bind this function to this button. So on click for post data. Fine. Now let's try this. And one more thing. So we can also add a then like a promise, which response. Okay, we don't need response. Just simply throw an alert, which will be data sent. Or if it fails, we will simply have an else block. Sorry, not else, a catch block, which will say error, and we will see console dot log error. Simple as that. Now, as you see, it is empty. We have no fields here. Now let's try to add one field, and better to open network tab first. So fine, let's add the name called Nishant, age 26. 26. Are you married? As yes. Click send data, and it's this alert that we are getting called data sent. Click OK, and here as well we are seeing this thing, which is the API request. The header, which is request, is post, created, and all other things. Fine. In the payload, we will see the payload, the data we are sending, which is age, is married, and the name. Now come over to this API and refresh. We will see the data here with another property called ID. Now let's try to send one more. So what we can do is, when we're sending the data, we can clear the input fields. So we can say, not use state, the set form data is empty. But if we're doing this, we also need to set the values here. So we can say value equals to the state, which is form data, and the name of the form field, which is name. Now repeat them in others as well. So this will be is married. This will be age. Save. Now refresh it, and let's add another one called Uday. Age 27 or 6. Is married? No. Okay, false. Fine. I think that's how it works. So I guess we don't need it here. So just remove it, because we are not able to type no. Send data and send. Fine. I guess we're not getting, it's not getting cleared, so it's fine. So if you now refresh it, we will see another object here with name of Uday, is married, and other things. Fine. Okay. So that was the create request that we use. We don't need this. We don't need this. Okay. Fine. So that's how we do it. Now let's try the read property. So go over to this slash read component and let's get data from here. So let's come over to read component and import Axios as library. So import Axios from Axios and let's create a use effect hook which runs when the component is mounted, and that's when we want to call this get API to get data from this. But first let's create a function get data, and this function will be called inside when the component is mounted like this. Fine. Now in the get data, we will simply do nothing but axios.get followed by the endpoint. So endpoint is this. So just copy and paste, or you can store the endpoint in some other location as well, so that you can use it commonly. Fine. So it's done. And now if you check, but also we need to get it like a promise. So it's a promise based call. So we can say then data console.log data. Now if you come over to this read page and console it, you will see this object, and let's make this as response to better understand it, and it's response.data. Now save this and we will see the two array items from this mock API. Now we can display them in this page. So for that we need the use state hook. Let's create one array const data, or let's say API data, and set API data equal to use state and array like this. Now simply set it here. Now let's map it inside this component, which will be, so we can say API data dot map data. So we will return something. So let's return, wait, like this. Yes. First let's add h2. In the h2 we will add data dot name. Let's add a p tag paragraph. In this we will add data dot age. But as you see, we have an error because this two needs to be inside one div or a fragment. So add it here simply, div, and you will see this, but it's not aligned properly or yes, arranged properly. So give this div a class name of grid item. Now copy the class grid item. We can close the create page and come to CSS, and in the item we can say display flex and justify content space around for space between, and we will have this. We will have this. Also, let's give it a width of 500 pixels. Okay, it's too much. Let's try 200. Fine. Also align items. Align items where it is center. Now they are in center. If we make it 100 to small, 150, fine. So we have Nishant and Uday. So we can add her property as well, which is the merit property. You can add it. Fine. You can also add, let's also add the ID. So let's say p data dot ID. And every property needs to be inside the curly brackets to show it. Okay, let me make this p as well to make it smaller. Now we have 1 Nishant 26, 2 Uday 26. Fine. Fine. Okay. So now what can we do is create a button, because now we're jumping into edit and delete properties. So in the button we can have edit and save. I guess we need to make it uh, 200, 250. Yes, but if we are making it 250, we have to make it one more button also, which is delete, like this. So then we have to make it 350. Okay, it goes out of the screen. Let's try 300. Yeah, 300 is fine. Okay, good. Now we have edit function, edit button, and delete button. So let's create one more function. So let's say, so we can do this in same function or other function. So let's say we create other function, like different function for each of them. So we can say const, let's try delete. So no, let's try edit one first. So we can say edit field, like this. Now in the edit field, it will receive an ID, and the ID will be this, because it's a unique param. So age can be same, name can be same, but this ID is auto generated, so it can be different. It is different. So if we are passing this edit field ID here, we have to pass it from here as well. So we can say on click, we have to pass the ID. Yes. So in edit field, simply pass data.id as argument or param. Similarly, we need delete one also. So let's say delete field. And also the same thing will be here, but the function name will be delete. Delete field. So first let's see how to edit them. So to edit, what we can do is nothing but call the API for Axios.put. Fine. But the problem is we need to send us to the edit page. So what can we do? So in this edit field, we have to create a navigate from React router navigation path. So we can import a thing called use navigate. Yes. Now we have to create the instance of the navigate. So let navigate equals to use navigate. Now everything inside this use navigate has the data of this current route, which is now inside this navigate. So we will say navigate. I think that's how we do it. I am forgetting. Yes, let's try this. Yes, let's try. So we need to be on that home page, which is create. So let's say create, and now refresh, click edit. Okay. Okay, we don't have create page, sorry. We have the slash only. Now click edit. We will be on the create page. Now we have to also pass the current ID. You can pass the data as well. So either you can pass the data directly, which is API data, or you can pass the ID and call the get API again. So I prefer the format, so just pass the data, which is API data, like this. Now I think that's how we do it. So come over to this create page, and here also we need to get the data. So we can say import. We will use a thing called use location. Wait, yes, I think that's it. And have let location equals to use location. Now if we console.log this location, let's see what we get. Now we refresh the page, open the console, click edit, and we will have all of these items. But we don't see any data here. So the problem is we are doing some mistake, because we have to send them as a state param. I mean state property. So state will be equal to this data, like this, like an object. I think that's how it works. Okay, state equal to, sorry. Now let's try again. State is still null. So let's see. Okay. I'm forgetting this. Yes, so this is how it works. So we need to wrap the next thing like this state inside a curly bracket, an object bracket, and pass the API data like this. But we don't need to pass API data because it's a whole array. We need to pass the data. So we'll simply pass this data for the current object. So it will come here, sorry, here, and we will pass it like this. Now save this and try again. Click edit and we will see state.data as the object. So now come to this create page and we can filter it out. So we can say location dot state dot data, and now it will give us the data for these three fields. Now we have to set it inside the set form data. So copy the set form data and set it like this, but it will not allow us. Why? Because we are declaring it before, but we are using it before this. I mean declaring it after and using it there. So copy or cut this and paste it here. And it will cause an error because we have so many renders. So better to send it here. So we will create a check here. So if the location or say.data, we will convert it inside into an array. So we can do this using this object. Okay, let's do it here, not here. In the use effect. So create one, use effect. And I guess it's imported automatically. Yes. In this, we will set it. So we can set form data as this. Location or set.data. Now we will see this, but we will not see the is married because it's a different kind of property, I guess. Okay, we need the value, yes. Yes, which will be true. But the problem is we type it and it goes false, so we have to work on it. So I guess we can simply remove all of these items and let it be a string value for now. Fine. Now if it is true, we can change it. Okay, so we can make it as yes, and here also we can change. So how to edit this? Click users and edit and change it to let's say string update. Now let me delete or leave the fields, I think, or is married 1, is married 2. Okay, let me delete this. Refresh, and if you refresh this, we will see 2 users. Simply drag the this bar to 0. Click 0. Now we will have no fields here, empty. So refresh it and go back, and we will only have the read. So now let's try to create one. So let's try to create this, but it doesn't go. So why does it is not going? Let's try to send yes. Send data now. Data sent. It will be here. Fine. Is married is yes and ID is 1. Fine. Now we can also do this. So when we are sending data, posting data, we can direct us to that create page. Fine. And since we are using this as string, we can clear it out like this. Now try for Uday. Age 26, is married, false. Now click send data. Data sent, but they doesn't get disappeared. What is the problems? Not problems, problem. Okay, leave it. Let's go to the read page. But first, let's navigate us to the read page when we are sending data. So use navigate. This let navigate equals to use navigate. Now we will need to navigate it from here. So we will say read. Now it will work. So why it is persisting? I don't get it. Set from data from this location or set to data. Come over to read page. Okay, what we need to do is we need to set it only when we have the data. So let's first console it. Now come over to the home page and you will see this error, which is, what is this? Cannot read properties of null. Yes. So in this case, if the whole thing is not null, or better, yes, if it is not null, only then we will set it here. So remove this and give it a refresh. It's not working. Line number 30. Yes. So let's do this. So let's convert it into an array. So to do that, we will need to use object dot entries or keys or values, anything we want, and then we will simply check the length. So if the length is more than 0, it means array has some items. Fine. And now let's try to go to create page. Just okay, still this error we have. Okay, it says that React router caught the following 30, line number 30. Let's add a question mark and see what happens, because it will work, because it will check for undefined values. Still not working. Object.values, location.state.data.length. But if we remove them, let's try to console this error. I mean console.log this and see what happens. Yes, now we're getting it. Now let's check the console. It's undefined. So if we bring it back, we will still see. So what can we do if it is undefined? So currently it's undefined. So remove all of these, just remove this and check for if it is undefined, or just leave it using that. Now it will work. Yes, perfect. Coding is tough. So if it is undefined, it will be empty. But if it is not undefined, the state will be here, all the 3 values. So try that. Click edit, and Nishan 26 and age is here. I mean yes is here. Click this Uday one and it will be here. Perfect. Now we need to send data or update it from the read. So it's here. So as we create a check here, if it exists, only then we will set data. So same thing we have to do it here. So wrap it in a curly bracket like thing and create a check. If the location.state.data exists, it means some data is inside it, else we have to use send button. I mean else we have to use update button. Let me click again. So if it exists some data, we will use update button, else we will use send button. Now if you are having some data, we will see update data. But if you come back to this page and simply navigate here, we will see send data. So that's how it works. Fine. Now let's update the data. So we need to create a function here also called const put data to update the actual fields. So just copy all of these items, add it here, and simply change the post to put and assign this function to this button. So same thing, just copy this, add it here. So instead of send or update, we will use this. So post data will be on send as a function, and put data will be on this update as a function. Now save this and let's try. So click Nishant, click edit on Nishant, make this as no. And I think we have added it here. Yes, let's make this data updated. And the rest of the things are fine, I guess. Yes. Now let's make this no. Click update data. Yes, so one mistake I did. We also need to pass the ID. Sorry. So we need to also get the ID. So where do we get the ID? So it's in form data, I guess. So if we console.log this for now, let's see what we are getting. We are getting an object with the ID. So we can say form data dot ID. So just copy this and add it after this. So it takes three params, the endpoint, form data, and the ID, which is this. Fine. So if we make it an ID, let's see what happens. It will not work. Okay, no problem. Let's try again. Make this as no and update data. We have this 400 bad request. So see network tab. Payload is this. Is married now. What is the error? Invalid request. So okay, the problem is we don't need to send it as query params. We have to send it as path params. So just give it a slash and add form data to ID and the $sign to make it a variable. Now it will work perfectly. So make it no, click update data, and you will see data updated. And now if we click edit here, this will be no. Let's try to edit the age. Let's make it 86. Click update data and updated. Age is now 86. So this is how update data or update like put request works. We can remove this console log. Now the next thing we have is delete. So we have to do it here, not in other component, because we don't have to use routing. So we only need the ID. So just copy this thing, Axios.get, and replace get with delete. So it takes two things as well, the this endpoint, and we have to add the ID as the same way we did before. So make it as ID. Also, we don't need this set API data here. Also the response we don't need. We only need to refresh the page. For that, we can call the get data function again to call the entire data again. So click delete for Uday, and it has been deleted. So that's how delete works. Click delete for Nishant and it will be deleted. Now if you want to create one, we have to go here and create it again. So Nishant, age 26. Yes, I'm not married. Click send data. Send, and it will be here. You can edit it or delete it. Fine. So that was how we use CRUD operations in React. And by the way, we didn't need this context API, but if you want to learn this context API, you can go over to this repo, React interview questions, and you will have all the interview questions that are asked in an interview, like async await or promises or custom hooks or recursion. And by the way, it's all videos and code. So code is here in the repo and you can see the videos. So that's how we do it. Fine. So great. And now like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching my video.